Thank you so much for attending my presentation on Pokemon's most confusing balance choices, and let's start with Inteleon. Inteleon's design in theory is pretty interesting. It's a strong, fast mono water type that's built to abuse a specific mechanic, critical hits. Its signature ability Sniper powers up crits to obscene levels, and the new Snipe Shot move has an increased crit ratio. Seems pretty solid. Unfortunately for Inteleon, under a year later, Game Freak would release Urshifu, who is a water type with a fantastic attacking stat and a move that always fucking crits. Why would they do this? It seems completely nonsensical to make a Pokemon that almost directly outclasses a starter just 7 months after its introduction. Yeah, sure, the Chameleon's a bit faster, and Snipe Shot does ignore redirection, but it's not even close to enough. Snipe Shot is really inconsistent to the point where players run Hydro Pump, the 80% accurate move, over it. Inteleon's not even that good anyways, but this is the final nail in the coffin. Regigigas is one of the most memed on, clickbaited Pokemon of all time, and for good reason. Real quickly, for those of you who don't know, Regigigas was given the slow start ability in a misplaced balancing attempt. It halves its attack and speed stat for 5 turns, and the timer resets when you switch. Completely horrible and dooms it to fail nearly everywhere. However, Game Freak did the legendary Golem even dirtier by giving it one of the saddest move pools ever. Protect is a move that does just that, protect you for a turn. It can be learned by the vast, and I mean vast majority of Pokemon. Sadly, Regigigas is one of 25 who cannot. This is a frankly insane choice to make and hurts it in more ways than one. Yeah, you can't stall turns, but you also can't chip people with leftovers every other turn, which matters because they also tend to give any real form of recovery. The only thing it can do is click Drain Punch, which is very weak without a stab boost and half attack. In Gen 8, they finally corrected their error, giving it Protect, but it didn't matter at that point. A true travesty. Next up, we actually have another water starter. Empoleon, despite having a much higher special attack stat, was given Defiant instead of Competitive. These two abilities are kinda opposites, with the former increasing attack by 2 stages when the stat is lowered, and the latter increasing special attack instead. This is an already confusing decision, but could very easily be corrected in the next generation. Sadly, it wasn't, and stayed that way for 4 installments. In the Teal Mask DLC, it finally got fixed, but at that point it didn't really matter in the higher tiers. Empoleon with Competitive would have been a fascinating Pokemon to use, especially after the defog buff. Since the hazard clearing move also lowers the opponent's evasion, the Penguin can get what amounts to a free Nasty Plot boost. Torrent was used on both offensive and supportive sets during its time in Gen 6 and 7. Having this as an option would have given it more unique, interesting roles to fill. Unfortunately, this was not the case, and it's fallen to RU, its lowest placing ever. Knockoff is a super cool move, at least in the early gens. Before X and Y, it only had 20 base power, and while this seems horrible at first, it really wasn't. Knockoff still saw tons of use on some really cool sets too. Gen 3 Lead Hariyama, shoutouts to BKC, is a great example. The duo of Stab, Cross Chop, and Knockoff creates a deadly choice. Are you going to risk getting a resist knocked off, maybe a Starmie or something, or take a CC to the face? You don't run the move for damage, you run it for utility, which is sick to see. In Gen 6 though, this all went out the window. Knockoff got what could very well be the best move buff in Pokemon history, going to 65 base power and getting a 1.5 times boost when the opponent is holding an item. This turns it from a weak move with a fantastic secondary effect to one of the strongest dark moves in the game, still with a fantastic secondary effect. This wasn't necessary. Knockoff was already great and quickly became one of the best, most prevalent moves around. Its distribution was huge, even pokes like Landorus and Toxapex got it. While this has been toned down a bit, it's still a giant part of every tier. In conclusion, while I think that Pokemon's balance is better than people give it credit for, they're no stranger to downright baffling ideas. These are some of the most exaggerated examples I could find, but there's absolutely some more. Please tell me because I find them fascinating. Thank you so much for watching.